I'm Kelly, and today we have a gentle yoga practice that will help with maybe any tightness we've got in our necks, upper backs, lower backs, etc. And then we'll do a nice well-rounded practice as well. We will need some props today. If you have yoga blocks, they would be super helpful. If you have a yoga blanket or bath towel, beach towel, etc., we'll start with using that prop. And then lastly, if you have a yoga bolster, we will be using a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you probably have things you could use around your home. If I were looking around my home, I would probably grab this couch cushion here. It's a nice bolster-y shape and size. If you don't have couch cushions like that, maybe grab your pillow from your bed or two of those pillows, and they should work just fine for you. Once you've got your stuff, we'll get started. We are going to start in prone shavasana. So let's grab that yoga blanket or bath towel. Let's have it starting looking like this-ish, and then we'll fold it in half so now it's narrower than it was to start. We're going to put this about halfway down your mat. And then I would like for you to lie with your hip points, the little pointy bones in the fronts of your hips. You're going to lie with them on that blanket, coming into prone shavasana. So you're going to stack your hands. You're going to rest your forehead on those stacked hands. And then we're going to think about letting your torso soften into your mat. You might give a little wiggle of the hips to try to let that settle in. We might rock our head a little bit side to side to release any tension in the neck. And we'll take a moment just to arrive on our mats, dropping our awareness into our body and just noticing how you have shown up today. What parts of your body feel good? What parts maybe feel a little less good? Not judging them, but just observing. Noticing if you're holding tension anywhere in your body, maybe in your neck, maybe in your upper back, maybe in your belly or your hips and glutes, maybe in your throat. Can we try to soften wherever we can soften? And then we'll bring our awareness to our breath, noticing how it's moving through your body today. Does it feel short and shallow? Does it feel long and smooth? Does it feel expansive? And then we'll work towards creating a little more expansive breath. So on your next inhale, breathing deep into the stomach, feeling your stomach press into your mat, then filling up through the ribs, and then exhaling to soften all of that back down. Again, inhaling deep into the stomach and lower back, up through the ribs, and exhaling to soften. We'll take one more here, inhaling deep into your torso, and filling up through the top, and then exhaling slowly. Perfect. From here, we're going to plant our palms on either side of the chest. We're going to press into them to come up to tabletop. I'm going to take that blanket and unfold it one at a time, and I'm going to create a little cushion under my knees because my floor is kind of hard, and yours might be hard as well. Once we've done that, we're going to come in to tabletop, and we're going to start with a little bit of work for our neck. So I'd like for you to be facing your mat, so your head is parallel to the ground, and then think about just lifting the back of your head a little higher in space, so it feels like you're kind of creating a double chin here. And then with this, we're going to gently glide the chin towards the right shoulder, looking over that right shoulder. And then we'll come back to center. We'll glide the chin over to the left shoulder. And coming back to center, again, looking towards that right shoulder, and center, and then left shoulder, and center. From here, we're going to lift our gaze forward on the inhale. On the exhale, dropping just the head towards the ground, letting that neck soften. We'll inhale, gaze will look back up towards the front of your room, and then exhaling to let that head drop. We'll take once more each direction, inhaling to lift the head, exhaling to drop the head, And then we'll add more movement here. So the next inhale, gaze will lift, tailbone lifts, chest pulls forward, coming fully into cow. On the exhale, pressing your mat away, whole back rounds, head hangs. We'll inhale, pulling the chest back through to cow. Exhale, pressing the mat away, back rounds, head hangs. We'll take once more each direction, pulling through to cow. Exhaling, rounding the spine into our cat. We'll come back to neutral. We'll keep adding on a bit. So we'll extend the right leg straight out. Your right toes will be facing straight forward. Your left foot is going to kickstand in just a little bit. So it's like you're going to come into a child's pose here. From here, on the inhale, gaze will lift once more. On the exhale, we're going to round the spine, sliding those hips back onto that left heel. On the inhale, we'll round back forward to our modified table. Gaze can lift. Exhaling, rounding the spine, hips sinking back towards the heels. Inhaling, rounding back to our tabletop. We'll take once more back, sliding back, and then we'll hold here for a couple of breaths. We might slide that right foot a little farther out to the side if we've got some more range of motion. We'll think about letting our hips sink really heavy on that left heel. Getting into the right inner thigh here, maybe a little bit in the upper and lower back as well. And then on the next inhale, we'll round back up to our modified table. We'll bring the right knee back in to meet the left. We'll bring shins back to parallel. And then we'll take the left leg straight out to the side, toes facing forward. That right foot will kickstand in just a little bit, like it's coming into a child's pose leg. From here, on the inhale, gaze will lift forward. On the exhale, back rounding, hips sinking towards that right heel. Inhaling, rounding back to our modified table, gaze lifting. Exhaling, rounding back, modified child's pose. Inhaling, coming forward, gaze lifting. Exhaling back one last time. Again, we'll hang out here for a couple of breaths. That left leg might slide a little farther left. Hips might sink a little heavier on your right heel. And we'll round back up, modified table. We'll bring the left leg in to meet the right. We'll bring our shins back to parallel. From here, planting through the left fingers, right fingers reaching up to the sky, and then we'll thread that right hand behind the left wrist. Right shoulder taps down, right side of the head rests down, left palm comes straight forward. We'll press through that palm to get extra length through the back body. We'll pause here for a few rounds of breath. From here, we'll bring that left hand back towards tabletop. We'll press into the left hand to lift back up. Right fingers might extend up to the sky, and then we'll lower the right hand down. From here, we'll inhale, left fingers to the sky. And then exhaling, threading the left hand behind the right wrist. Left shoulder taps down, left side of the head taps down. Extending that right arm in front of us, pressing through that palm to create extra length through the back body. From here, we'll bring that right hand back to tabletop. We'll press into the palm to push back up to our tabletop. From here, let's take 2 rounds of cat-cow on the inhale, pulling the chest forward, gaze lifts, tailbone lifts. Exhaling, rounding the spine, head drops. Inhaling, pulling the chest back forward into cow. Exhale, pressing in to cat. From here, coming back to neutral tabletop, and then we'll bring the right foot forward to come into a low lunge. From here, we'll inhale, fingers to the sky. We'll pause for a second, pressing through the left foot and the left knee, thinking about reaching your hip points up to the sky, so we get a nice stretch in that left hip flexor. We're going to add a little bit of movement. So on the inhale, we'll reach fingers a little higher to the sky. On the exhale, finding goalpost arms, maybe back bending a little more. Inhaling, extending the arms to the sky. Exhaling, goalpost. Inhaling to reach. Exhaling to goalpost. And then we'll bring hands to our hips. We'll straighten the front knee. We'll bring right toes straight up to the sky. From here, we'll hinge forward over the front leg. Fingers might come to the mat or maybe some blocks if the mat feels far away. We're thinking about tucking the right outer hip down and back. We might also press a little through that right heel to get some activation in that right hamstring as we're stretching it. Here, we're going to get into the right outer hip just a little bit more. So to do that, we'll grab the right foot with the left hand, and we'll just slide that right foot a little bit more to the left, a little more towards the center line on your mat. And then if you twisted your hips to do that, we'll slide our hips so that they're square again, so we're tucking that right outer hip down and back once more. We might feel a little extra stretch through that outer hip and that T-band on the right side. From here, we're going to shift our weight, so we're going to come to sit on that left back hip, and then we're going to swing the right leg around. I'm going to turn just so that you can see me. You can stay exactly where you were. Your right foot is planted on the outside of your left thigh. Left leg could stay bent, or we might swing it forward to straighten it. From here, we're going to sit up nice and tall. We'll inhale, fingers to the sky. We'll exhale, twisting to the right. Your left hand can hug that right knee in. Right fingers can plant behind us. Gaze might look over the right shoulder. We'll take a couple breaths here. From here, we'll unravel. We're going to take a little counter twist to the left. So we're going to turn all the way to the left. We're going to let that right hip slide with us as we come to fold forward over to the left side, finding Sphinx arms here. A couple breaths here. We'll walk our hands back in to come out. If we straightened the left leg, we'll re-bend it, and then we're going to slide the right leg in front. So we're just sitting in a cross-legged position. From here, we'll bring our hands to our knees. We're going to do a few rounds of seated cat-cow. So on the inhale, we'll pull the chest forward and gaze will lift to the sky. On the exhale, rounding the back, letting the chin drop towards your chest. Inhaling, pulling your chest back forward, gaze lifting. Exhaling, rounding the spine, letting the chin drop. We'll take once more each direction, inhaling to pull forward. And exhaling to round. From here, we'll roll over our shins to return to our tabletop. And we'll do all of that second side. So our left leg will come forward. We'll find a low lunge, runner's lunge here. And then fingers will reach up to the sky. We'll press through the right knee and the right foot, hip pointers reaching a little higher towards the sky. And then we'll add some movement here. We'll inhale to find a little extra length. We'll exhale, goalpost arms. Inhaling to reach. Exhaling, goalpost. Once more to reach. Once more to goalpost. And then lowering hands to your hips. We'll straighten the front knee. Left toes will reach up to the sky. Left outer hip tucking down and back. Hinging forward. Hands might come to your mats or they might come to your blocks. Couple breaths here, maybe pressing a little through the left heel to activate the left hamstring. From here, we'll add that little IT band stretch. So we'll pick up the left foot with the right hand. We'll slide it a little farther to the right. If your hip moved with that leg, we'll slide that left hip down and back to get a little more on the outside of the left leg. And then from here, we're going to shift our weight onto that right hip. The left leg will swing around. We can plant the left foot on the outside of the right thigh. Right knee might be bent, or we might straighten it if we need a little extra space there. Then we'll inhale, fingers to the sky. We'll exhale, twisting open to the left, catching the left knee with the right arm, left fingers planting, crown of the head is tall, gaze looking over the left shoulder. From here, we'll unravel. We're going to take that little counter twist to the right. So turning over to the right, letting your left hip move with you as you fold onto Sphinx arms off of your right hip. And then we'll come back up. We'll rebend the right knee. If we straightened it, we'll bring the left leg in front to come to a cross-legged seated position. This time through, we're going to do a little bit of neck opening. So we've got two options. We could do half circle, so dropping right ear to right shoulder, tracing out the collarbone to the left ear, and then returning over to the right and back and forth. In my body, taking a full circle doesn't feel fabulous. It feels a little crunchy. If taking the full circle going all the way around the back feels good for you, you're welcome to do that as well. I'll be here for a couple rounds of breath. If you want to hang out in any spot, you're welcome to hang out there a little longer. You want to play around a little bit with the tilt of the chin. When you're on either side, you're welcome to do that. If you are taking full circles, let's reverse the circles. And then when we feel even side to side, we'll bring the head back to neutral. We'll roll over our shins to return to tabletop. We'll do one more little lunge series and we'll add on a bit to what we had last time. So we'll step the right foot forward. This time we might find our blocks, especially if you feel like your knee is in your chest when you're in that runner's lunge. We're gonna add some movement here. On the inhale, we'll pull the chest forward, letting our hips sink a little lower. On the exhale, we'll straighten the front knee and we'll round forward over the front leg. We'll inhale back to that lunge, chest lifts, gaze lifts. We'll exhale, sliding the hips back, straightening the front leg, back rounds. We'll come forward once more. We'll glide back once more. Then we'll come to our neutral lunge. We'll slide the blocks out of the way if we've got them. We're going to walk the right foot all the way out to the edge of our mat. We're planting down through the left palm near the left edge of our mat. And then we'll inhale, right fingers to the sky. From here, we'll exhale, threading that right hand behind the left forearm. Gaze looks over the left shoulder. We'll inhale to open back up into our twisted lunge. We'll exhale to thread that hand behind the left forearm. Inhaling to open. Exhaling one last time to twist. And then inhaling, open here. Pausing for a round of breath here. And then we'll lower the right hand. We'll wiggle the right foot back to center, and then we'll straighten that front leg, half splits. We've got options. We could stay here. If we want to add on a twist, we want to make sure we have a super flat back. My back is a little bit rounded here, so I'm going to grab a block under my left hand so I can come up higher so my back can be nice and flat. With my hand on that left hand on the block, I'll then open my right fingers up to the sky. This might also get a little bit of outer hip opening here. Then we'll lower the right hand back down. We're gonna have that same transition back to a seated twist, so gliding back onto your left hip, swinging the right leg around, planting the right foot on the outside of the left thigh, maybe straightening the leg. We'll inhale, fingers to the sky. We'll exhale, twisting open to the right. Left arm hugs the knee, right fingers plant. We're gonna add a little bit of movement here, so we're gonna turn our gaze over the right shoulder, and then looking over the left shoulder, and the right shoulder, and the left shoulder. We'll take once more each direction, looking over the right shoulder, and the left shoulder. And then coming back to center, unraveling our twist. We've got two options here. We can bend the left leg, and we can have the right leg in front, cross-legged position. Or we might come into fire log pose. We might stack the right shin on top of the left. Either option is fabulous. We could be sitting up nice and tall if this already feels like a lot on the hips. If we've got some room to move, we'll inhale, fingers to the sky, and then we'll exhale to fold forward. From here, we'll let the back round. We can let the head hang. If your head is pretty close to the ground, we might think about adding a block under the forehead so that we can have some support there. If one block is not high enough, you can also stack a couple of blocks as well. Pausing here for a few rounds of breath. From here, if we fold it forward, we'll walk the hands back in to come out. We'll bring hands by our sides. We'll inhale, fingers to the sky. We'll exhale, the right hand will lower, the left fingers will reach up and over, a little side stretch here. Maybe grounding down a little bit through the left hip, maybe softening the right elbow to get a little deeper into the side bend. Next inhale, reach fingers back up to the sky. On the exhale, floating fingers back down by our hips. From here, if we stacked our legs, we'll bring the right leg in front, and then we'll roll over those shins to come back to our tabletop. We'll do all of that second side, so left leg stepping forward between the hands, maybe finding our blocks to create extra space to move. On the inhale, chest lifts, gaze lifts, hips sink a little lower. On the exhale, front knee straightens, back rounds, head hangs. Inhaling, pulling the chest forward, gliding back to our lunge. Exhaling, straightening the front leg, folding forward. Coming back forward once more. Gliding back once more. Returning to our neutral runner's lunge, sliding those blocks out of the way. Wiggling left foot over to the left edge of your mat. Right hand planting on the right edge of your mat. Inhaling, left fingers to the sky. Exhaling, left hand threads behind the right forearm. Inhaling, re-extending the left hand. Exhaling to thread. Inhaling to open. Threading once more here. Opening once more here. Pausing for a round of breath. And then lowering the left hand down, left foot wiggles back to center. straightening through the front knee. We might be staying folding forward. We might be coming into that twist. So we might grab a block for under the right hand so our back can be super duper flat. And then we'll press down through the right palm as we reach left fingers up to the sky to the left. And then we'll lower the left hand back down. We'll slide the blocks out of the way. We'll glide back to that sit on that right hip. Left leg will swing around, planting the left foot on the outside of the right thigh. Right knee could be bent, or we could straighten it. And we'll inhale, fingers to the sky. We'll exhale, opening up to the left, hugging the left knee in with the right hand, planting through left fingertips. And we'll add that neck movement again. So we'll gaze over the left shoulder, and then the right shoulder, and the left, the right. Once more to the left. Once more to the right. Coming back to neutral, unraveling our twist, rebending the right knee if we straightened it. Left leg might come in front, cross-legged position, or it might stack on top. We might be sitting up here nice and tall, letting gravity work on our legs, or we might be inhaling, fingers to the sky, and then folding forward. Letting the back round, letting the head hang, maybe supporting the head with a block under the forehead. From here, we'll walk the hands back in to come out. If we stacked the legs, we'll bring that left leg back in front. We have a blanket in the middle of our mat, so let's slide that out of the way. We'll roll over onto over our shins to come into tabletop, and then we'll grab our bolster. When we've got our bolster or couch cushion or pillows or whatever we're using for our bolster, we are going to have the bolster, one end of the bolster pointing towards the top right corner of your mat. So it's on a diagonal like so. You're then going to bring your right shin along the diagonal on the right side of that bolster. Your left toes will reach along behind you. We'll press through the fingertips to find some length through the torso, and then we'll take that length over the bolster. We've got options. The right cheek could rest down for less of a twist. If we want to get a little more of a neck twist, the left cheek might rest down instead. You can choose what feels best for your body. And then whichever cheek we have resting down, we'll be here for about a minute or so. So we'll think about really softening into our bolster, letting the torso soften, letting the right hip soften, slowing down our breath if it's speeded up a little bit. From here, we'll press into the palms to slide our weight onto that right hip. You can swing both legs around and straighten both legs. You might rock the legs a little bit side to side just to get some movement back into that right leg that was bent for a bit. And then we'll take our bolster that was this diagonal and we'll flip our diagonal. So one end of the bolster is now at the top left corner of your mat. Then we'll bring the left shin parallel to the bolster. The right leg will reach long behind us. We'll find some length through the torso. We'll take that length over the bolster. And then we will have either the left cheek down for less of a twist, right cheek down for more of a twist. And we will take about a minute here, trying to slow down our breath, trying to soften our torso into the bolster, trying to soften our hips lower towards our mat. And then again, we'll press into the palms to shift our weight onto the left hip. We'll swing both legs around. We might give them a little shake side to side, or maybe we tap our calves on our mat to get a little straightening, a little motion in that left leg. And then from here, we're going to take our bolster. We were on a diagonal. Now it's going to be just parallel to your mat. We're going to do a little bit of twisting here to round out our movement practice. So let's start with our left hip against the bolster. We're going to come into what I call mermaid legs. So your right shin is going to come to rest in your left arch. We've got a nice little, stack of our legs here. We can lengthen it if we feel a little crowded. They don't need to be super tucked in. And then we'll frame our bolster with our fingertips. We'll find some length through the spine. And then we'll take that length onto the bolster. We've got options here. Again, left cheek down would be less of a twist. Right cheek down would be more of a twist. You can feel what feels best in your body. If you have a flatter bolster than I do, you might think about sliding a block under the top of the bolster to get a little bit of extra height. Or if you have a thick bolster and you just feel like you want it to be a little higher up, that's also totally cool. So find what feels best for your body, and then we'll settle in here for a nice supported twist. To come out, we can plant our palms on either side of the bolster to lift our torso. And then to come over to second side, we'll just swing the legs around. So you'll have your right hip against the bolster. You'll have your left calf resting in your right arch. You'll turn your torso to face the bolster. We'll find some length through the spine. We'll take that length over the bolster. Right cheek down, less of a twist. Left cheek down, more of a twist. Choosing the best option for you on this side. And then settling in here for a few rounds of breath and our last supported twist. And then to come out, we'll press down through the palms to lift the torso. From here, we're going to take that bolster and we're going to turn it so now it's parallel to the short end of the mat. We're going to come into Shavasana with the bolster for just a minute or so, unless you have more time. If you have a round bolster, I like the bolster under my knees. If you have one of the flatter bolsters, it might feel nicer under your calves, so you can feel around with the bolster that you have and how it feels in your body. And then we'll lower our torso onto the mat. We'll bring arms by our sides, palms face up. We'll wiggle one shoulder blade under and then the other. We'll tuck the chin in. If it's comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes. If not, you can just take a soft gaze. And we'll spend 1 minute here just breathing and just being, and I will let you know when it's time to come out. If you have more time and you want to stay in Shavasana longer, I definitely support that decision. If it's time for you to move on with your day, you might start adding some movement back into your body, wiggling fingers and toes, rolling wrists and ankles, and maybe reaching arms overhead for one last long-bodied stretch. And then we can either just come straight up to seated, or we might bend at the knees, rolling onto one side, and then coming back up to a seated position. When we arrive, we can bring hands to heart center. We'll take a moment to thank ourselves for doing something kind for our minds and our bodies. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you soon.